Hey guys, so today we're going to explore the ways we can use type in Photoshop to sort of bend the use of our photographs to, say, for instance, more direct purposes. So you can use whatever photo that you might like, so long as your subject is sort of not taking up more than, say, for instance, like 1/3 of the frame. If your subject is like the entire frame, like, just shoulders and head and everything like that, then you may want to rethink that. You may want to find a photo where your subject is like kind of either pushed to the side or is more like kind of in the center, and we can sort of do some cropping and stuff. So that's what I'm going to do with this one right here. I'm going to start off with my little straighten tool, and I'm just going to straighten this out. I provided this one in the Dropbox if you want to use this one, just so you're all on the same page. Obviously, you can use the one that you use yourself. And I'm going to kind of like shrink this down to where, like, I take about 1/3. I'm like 1/3 in to one side. I'll pull this to the side here so I can get rid of that little black bar there. Maybe this as well. I want to say that's probably good. I might take away this right here as well. Okay, cool. All right, press enter. Neat. Okay, cool. So I'm going to get rid of this little guy here using the clone stamp. So the clone stamp tool here, just Alt and okay, get rid of that. And yeah, I think it's probably good. I might do a little bit of contrasting. I'll get the levels over here, my levels, and obviously, you just do whatever kind of whatever kind of contrasting you want. I might take the saturation down some, just so I can kind of make the yellows go a little bit. So because there's a lot of blues and a lot of neutral colors over here, I like that, but I want to make sure like this little area doesn't take away from that. So let's take the saturation down some. And I might make the whole thing a little more blue. Let's go over here to image. So we go here down here to our adjustment layers, and let's find color balance. Let's take the yellows away, kind of take them more towards blue. And that's going to make this background a little bit more blue, but it's going to take this down a little bit, which is good. I might also take the reds down slightly just to cool off my face. Okay, so I basically just want this to be kind of neutral, and I want this to be somewhat not distracting. And we can do a little more stuff with it later on. But in the meantime, though, this is a good start. Okay, but generally speaking, this is not super important. That this is like exactly the way I've got it, because all you really want to have is just basically like, I'm going to draw out something. So this is about 12 inches, like 12.6 inches. So this is about 8.5. So here's this, and then here's this, say 8.5. So like 4.25. So this is like probably going to be about the center point of our text here, right? We want this to be kind of evenly spaced. Okay, so I'm going to get my text tool here. Now there's a couple different ways you can use your text tool. If I just click once, I'm going to do this number here. I'm going to click once, and I'm going to find what's called a sans serif font. Sans serif fonts essentially are any font that don't have the stems on the side. So Arial is a sans serif font. Calibri is a sans serif font. The famous Helvetica font is sans serif. I don't think we have it on the computers here. This Century Gothic is a sans serif font. So I'm going to use Century Gothic. You can use any sans serif font. Again, a font that does not have the little stems. So I'll explain further on later in a second here. But let's just do this. Let's just write where teachers can teach and students will learn. Okay, so let's put that here, and I'm just going to take this text, and I'm going to see if I can't center it to that little line there, and just sort of shrink it down some to where, oops, so shrink it down to where it'll fit. This actually might be fine the way it is. I might shrink it down somewhat. It'll be centered. Here we go. That's okay. Oh, no sticky keys. Okay, so as far as the text goes, there's lots of different things we can do to change it. Obviously, I can just highlight all this, and I can change the color. I might change the color to something, I don't know, maybe like along the lines of like the blue of my shirt there. But that makes it kind of hard to see. The yellow that we had it before was actually kind of nice. I'm not sure where that color came from. We definitely want to avoid anything like bright reds. We don't want this this bright red. That's really ugly and also kind of hard to see. But the easiest way to do this would be to make it like a neutral color. Like we can always make it white, And then anytime we have these little light areas here that kind of go back and forth, we could always we could have outline it with black. So I'm going to go over here to my text. I'm just going to right click on this, and I'm going to say blending options, and I'm going to find stroke, and I'm going to change the stroke color to black, and I might change it to say 8 pixels or so. Okay, and then we could just sort of like, you know, have that hanging out here. And maybe we can put like another little text down here. This says Ace down at the bottom. Okay, so Ace hanging out. Oops. Right there. Okay, so this will be our first little thing. So if I just want to apply the same stroke, I can just right click on this and can say copy layer style, and then right click over here and say, oops, hello, paste layer style, and there it is. There, good. All right, so I'm first going to save this as a PSD file. So I have my little folder here for typography. I'm going to call it typography 1, and press OK. And what we'll do first is just Control Alt Shift E. That's going to copy everything to one layer here, and I'll call this typography 1-1, and then I'll press enter, and I'm going to make a little folder down here. I'm going to do this little group. I'll call this finished, and I'll just drag this inside the finished. Okay, and that'll be kind of hidden off for now. In fact, I'm gonna just sort of take this finished group here, collapse it down, and drag it down below the background, or down here. I might actually just take this off. Click on this little lock, and I'll drag it up to the background. Okay, cool. All right, so let's get rid of all this. Let's get rid of all these text little boxes. Actually, I'll keep the I'll keep it all. I'll get rid of all. I'll keep Ace. No, I'll get rid of Ace. Okay, so what we'll do is this. We'll take our text tool, and instead of just clicking once, let's click, and let's drag, and let's make a little circle here, or a little square, and hold down Shift and make a little square. And we'll do the same thing. This time, though, I want to type in all caps with a we'll use a different font. Let's stick with a blocky font. Let's stick with like a blocky sans serif font. You can obviously use the same font you used before, but I'm gonna pick a different font. I'm gonna find a font that has like all caps in. It's like, you know, a sample here. So like Lemon Milk here. I'm not sure if you have that one. There's several others that are like available. Propaganda is one that I've got. I'm not sure. You might have different ones than I do. Impact would work. I think we all have Impact. That's obviously a good one. And then we'll just sort of like kit. But once again, we just want to find a simple sans serif font that we can use with all caps. I'm going to choose Bison. All right. So I don't think you have this one, but I'll say this. I'll say where teachers can teach and students will learn. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to take where teachers can, and I want to make it all in one line. First off, I'm going to do this number here. I'm going to highlight everything, and I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go to Window. I'm going to go to Paragraph, and I'm going to make sure that my paragraph is justified. So justify all. That means it's going to like stretch everything out to reach the side. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to highlight where teachers can, and I'm just going to shrink this down slightly until it fits inside the first line there. Teachers can teach. And then for teach, I'm going to increase its size until it takes up the entire line there. I want to say it's about right. Okay, cool. And so what I'll do here is I'm actually going to drag this back some. So I want it to come up. So I'm going to find this right here. This is the tracking, the leading here. This is the leading. I'm just going to pull up the leading some. The leading is basically the space between the lines. And then the same thing here with students will. I want to see if I can't shrink that down until they come together. Students will. And then learn. I'll increase the size of that. I'm going to actually kind of make this a bit bigger. So this will fit. Actually, I'll take students learn, and I'll decrease. I'll decrease its leading. Notice how the leading is a lot smaller because the font's smaller. And then learn, I can make that a little bit bigger to fit in the line. I don't want it to be quite so spread out. Okay, I'll pull up my leading here. Okay. Probably about right. It's the same size as the one above. And I'll just drag this down some. Alright, good. Cool. Alright, so I'll just check mark here. Okay, so once again, I want to make sure I make this stand apart. So what I might do now is I might actually add another adjustment layer here. I'm going to actually add a gradient map. And I'm going to find let's look here, like a gradient map of like purple and orange maybe. Or any color you want. Double click on this and you can find any color you want. So I say for instance, I might choose teal, like a greenish blue. And then I might choose like, maybe not orange, but maybe something like, I don't know, kind of like a darker blue. Like that. And then, press OK. And what I'll do is I'm going to take the fill. The fill is basically like the opacity. I'm going to take the opacity down some, the fill down some. So that way it'll... I'm going to actually take my saturation levels down a good deal too. Cancel. Double click on this and then take the saturation down some. Cool. And then, yeah. All right, so now we've got this sort of blue. Now, once again, I'm going to see if I can I will center this one last time. There we go. Cool. All right, great. Okay, so now we've got this, you know, saturated. So now this stands out a little bit more, a little more contrast. It's not quite centered with the 2/3 line here. That's okay. I might just hold down Alt and shrink it down, Alt and Shift and shrink it some, and then try to center it again here. Okay, good. And then make sure it's centered in with the middle. Actually, it looks good over here. I like the way that looks. All right, so and then also add a little ace down here at the bottom. Just click down here, just ace. Make that a good deal smaller. Maybe 60. All right. All right, so this is a good example of emphasis with our text. Essentially, we're just emphasizing different words. And yeah, okay, good. So we've got both font size and also leading, so that's good. Once again, Control Alt Shift E, and then we can put this down with our finished. I will call this typography 1-2. I'll drag this down to finished. Okay, and then I'll once again I'll get rid of my gradient map, and I'll get rid of I'll bring my saturation back up a little bit, and I'll get rid of my ace for now. And let's take a look and see what we got with some other fonts here. Let's find some. Let's do this. Let's actually do this number here. Let's make a couple different text boxes. I'm gonna actually make a line like this. I'm gonna find a sans serif font that's like, yeah, this one right here, and I'm doing all lowercase. So get my caps lock off here. Where teachers can teach, and I'll shrink this down a good deal. Wait. No, I'll teach what teachers can. I'll just leave that there. Teachers can, and I'll position this here. I might shrink this down some, slightly. Make sure you're holding on Shift. Don't ever. It's very easy to tell when your text is stretched. And then I'm gonna make another text box right here. I'm gonna find a serif font. A serif font is basically any font that has a sort of stem on the S's and stuff. So let me see here. I don't have a whole lot. I don't think. I'm a big fan of sans serif fonts. I'm a big fan of really clean looking fonts. Cooper Black is a good one. George is a good one. Castellar is a good one. Century School Book, is that one? Yeah. Teach. How about Teach? Yeah, Teach. all lowercase. We'll try it out with all lowercase. I'm not a big fan of this. I'm gonna try a different one here. So you just find one that you like, you think looks nice. I might do. I'm trying to find something that sort of jumps out at me here. Nothing really jumps out. I guess we're just gonna keep that. Ugh. So avoid stencil, avoid Times New Roman, definitely avoid Comic Sans. Not because I have anything against Comic Sans or any of those fonts. I just tend to kind of go along with the general consensus that those fonts are kind of like, I say useless, but just sort of there. Okay, yeah. Oh, here we go. Cinematographic. Nope, that's actually a sans serif font. Wait. Nope. Okay, yeah, sans serif. I'll just use Georgia. Georgia. Georgia Bold. That's okay. Georgia Bold. Okay, that's fine. All right. So teachers can teach. Oh, hello. We're holding down Shift here and not grabbing it by the edge. Okay. So now what we can do is we can actually kind of match this up, and we can actually sort of center these together, as it were. Very nearly, we can actually kind of adjust our lighting ourselves, and I might just sort of select both of these, hold on Shift and select both of these, and then Alt drag them down, and then I can just sort of, and students can, and I might just separate these a little bit with the leading. Once again, go to paragraphs here, find my paragraphs, find my characters. I'm actually adjust the tracking some. This is the tracking or the kern, depending on what you're looking at here. Yeah, tracking. So this is the kern. And then we'll change. Oops, hello. All right, and then I'll say, oops, hello. Change this to learn. That's about right. And students can learn. Hello. Right. T on the keyboard is your shortcut for this. Control Enter is your keyboard shortcut for submitting all the changes. And students can learn. Okay, so for this one, what we'll do is we'll select all these. Okay, my layers here. I'll just select all these. What we can do is we can actually select all these guys, and then I can put them in a group, and with the group I can go to my blending options, and I can actually just add, instead of maybe a stroke, I'll just add a drop shadow. And the drop shadow will help me keep this a little more visible. Essentially what size does is size determines how far the diffused areas go. So if you have a smaller size, there'll be a denser shadow. Spread kind of brings up the intensity of the shadow, and then distance sort of pulls it closer to the letters or not. And then of course you can change the angle as well. I like just off to the bottom to the angle. That's always good. Tried and true. I want to say it's inverted. Yeah, this is okay. And just make it obviously make it to where it's easy to see against the background. So that always helps. It's okay. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing here. We'll just take our little text tool down here, Ace. I'll make sure this is inside the group. Okay, cool, Ace. All right, so Control Alt Shift E, just to combine all the layers into a single copy. Call it typography 1-3, and then drag it down to finished. And we'll do one more. So get rid of this group here, and let me just take my text tool, and we'll do some crazy stuff. We'll just say I'm gonna use my where teachers can. I'm gonna change this to something else. Can, and then I'll change this to a new font. Let's choose a new kind of simple, like, sans serif font. Corbel, maybe not quite so simple. How about graphite? What is graphite? That's awful. Hettenschweller? No. How about find something that looks familiar to me. 20th century? Okay, that's fine. Futures can, and I'll make sure this is like thin, so regular. Okay, futures can, and then I'm gonna get my big bold. I'm gonna not get anything bold. What I will do is I'm gonna get something that's a script font. So I'm gonna find a very scripty font. Script font basically is any flowing kind of you know, handwriting font. And I might actually just do, you know, teach. And I'll make that really big and really emphasize it. And I might actually shrink this down some and then pull this up a little bit and just sort of like make it really big. Just can teach. And then I'm going to use a serif font for this one. So I can find like a new font here. I might use Century Schoolbook. And students will okay, change this back to Century Schoolbook. There we go. And I might make this a little bit smaller. And then I'll find another kind of interesting font. Sometimes the word they use for this font is like a marquee font or title font or heading font. Basically, fonts that are noticeable in that, like, they don't really work well for just they don't work well for like just normal text. Let me just undo that. It's like let's learn, and I'll make that into that one font I found. Dope style. Okay, so this big. Okay, and so then we've got a kind of a mix and match and stuff. Okay, so essentially we've got different both weights of fonts and also different sort of styles of fonts. So once again, I'm going to group all this together just so I can move it around a bit easier. And I'll just sort of like move this around down here. Groups are great. They help you sort of adjust size at the same time and adjust position at the same time, especially when you don't want things to be moved around. And then we'll do the same thing as before, except for this time we'll create, let's do this number here. Let's make a copy of this layer. Let's click on layer 0, Control J, and I'm gonna actually pull this up a little bit here. And what I'll do here is I'm gonna first off get my levels up quite a bit. I'm gonna pull my levels up. What I'll do is I'll just pull my levels up here, and click on those. I'm just going to really just ratchet up the contrast here. I think that was what we found worked the best. Just really big contrast between the two. And I'm going to image adjustments. Oops. Image adjustments. Actually, first off, what's this number here? Let's merge layers. No, merge layers. So we'll just right click on this, merge these layers here together. And what we'll do is we'll go to image adjustments, and then we'll do threshold. And I'm gonna like kind of get my threshold pretty detailed. But what I'll do here is I'm gonna change its color mode to something like overlay, maybe soft light, maybe screen. No, that's fine. Let's go through darken. How about multiply? How about color burn? Like that. I want to say linear burn, dissolve. No. Difference? No. Okay. Probably multiply. Sounds best. And I'll take the fill down some. And that just gives it an interesting little look there. kind of desaturates it a little bit, hardens some of the lines there, and gives us some nice little contrast between this level and the back. I might actually do this number here. I might actually kind of pull this invisible, Control-Alt-Shift-E, just kind of make all that, and then I might actually take my levels down and darken this whole thing. Let's go down to brightness and contrast and just pull the brightness down some, the contrast up a little bit. And okay, no, I don't like that. Okay. So the whole point of this is mostly just to focus on the text. Okay, so here we go. Now we've got a little slogan on there, and what we can do is we can just position our text where we want it, and we'll just once again Control-Alt-Shift-E. First, all the changes E, and then we'll call this typography 1-4, and then what we'll do here is we'll just open up a new document, have it be one of our 8.5 by 14 things here. So let's look at 8.5 by 14. Just create, and then we'll do the same deal as before, but we've kept that open back there, and so we'll just call this typography 1. Make sure it's set to black. Goodness me. I'll drag this down a little bit here. Let's do the below. Goodness. Okay. And then we can drag this down slightly. Okay, great. Okay, and so now the way we're going to introduce these is by opening up our little group down here. And let's just get these one by one. So we'll just say typography 1-1, drag it in, drop it in, shrink it down some to size, hold down Shift, obviously, line it up with text. Think about how much room you're going to need for the next one here. Okay, and then what we'll do is just one by one, we'll drag the others in. So 1-2, I'll drag this guy in, pop it in, and then we'll just sort of match it up to the other. Like this. Oh, come on. All right. We can fix all that spacing issues in a second here. All right, 1-3. We'll drag that one down as well. Okay, so as far as what we're kind of drawing from here, there's a couple of things we want to draw from. And we want to take away from this this lesson. For one, obviously, is the technical aspect of using the text tool. That's obviously the big one. The big one is knowing how to use the text tool. The text tool is very important and it's pretty powerful. So knowing how to use that is a great addition to your repertoire and great tool in the toolkit. So make sure you got a good knowledge of how to use that, all the different tricks and stuff of that. The other thing is kind of how we're applying some of these photo adjustments we've made to enhance the sort of visibility of our text, and how we can kind of combine some of the things that we've done with other things we've learned. The point, once again, is conveying a message. So making sure that your message is easily understood is paramount. So let's go ahead and so knowing how to emphasize your text. I'm going to go image and crop. Knowing how to emphasize your text, knowing how to do all this stuff. This is all super important for graphic design. So making sure that you know how to get all this stuff. Okay. So this is our first little photo spread. Let's kind of get a little close in on this. Okay, so I think of all these, I like this one. Okay, this one is a little bit boring just because the text is sort of sitting there, where teachers can teach and students will. There's not really a whole lot of emphasis here. I like this a lot because the emphasis is very obvious. Teachers can teach and students will learn. This one I messed up on I put can instead of will. Whoops. So that's okay. Anyways, I like this one a lot. I think the colors kind of blend well together. I think like the little gradient map is nice. I think this one is nice too because the difference in terms of the font makes it very distinct, and I think it really emphasizes well. I like the lowercase stuff. This is kind of fun too because of the different styles. I'm not sure if I would go, if I had to do this again, I'm not sure if I would go sans serif, script, serif, heading font. You know, I probably would have like stuck with one or the other. Maybe made these two kinds of things like different. But I think I like the different sort of like scripty fonts here. So all in all, this is just mostly just trying to show how we use the text tool and how the text tool can be sort of adapted to different environments here, and obviously blending options as well. So we'll definitely do more with all this stuff. All right, very cool. So once again, say this is a JPEG and submit it to D2L. All right, can't wait to see you guys produce. 31 JPEG. All right, cool. See you in class.